The one game that started it all, probably my favorite Nintendo franchise of all time, The Legend of Zelda, and it only exists because Shigeru Miyamoto enjoyed playing in the woods when he was younger and liked the feeling of adventure, so let's all give a big thank you to Mother Nature. It laid the foundation for the later games since many features were introduced in the very first game already, the overall story, dungeons, overworld exploration, items, enemies, etc. But the game basically has no story unless you read the manual or the short text that starts to play on the main screen if you don't press any buttons. Your Link and the game is set in Hyrule, a kingdom ruled by Princess Zelda, but Ganon and his evil minions are trying to take over, so the whole kingdom needs a bit of saving, and it's your job to find the Triforce pieces of the Triforce of Wisdom to gain the power that is needed to defeat Ganon and bring the peace back that everyone wants, except Ganon, the big meanie. Sounds familiar, right? Because, well, it's almost the story of every single Zelda game with a few exceptions here and there. After that, you get thrown right into the overworld and you hear the iconic Zelda main theme and can immediately game. Woohoo, I love to game. No tutorials, no explanations, nothing. You can basically go anywhere and see what the world has in store for you, which even Nintendo themselves said was the inspiration behind Breath of the Wild. This can also be a complaint for people, where they have no idea what to do or where to go, but there's the manual for that. Obviously, playing this game nowadays you won't own it probably, but there's tons of sites to look up online where you can read it and get explanations about the game. They even explain how to get to the first two dungeons. After that, you really should manage to figure out what to do and where to go. It's like being a little kid and having to go to school for the first time ever, all by yourself, and hopefully not getting lost on the way. So people saying it doesn't explain anything are basically wrong. I miss the days of having actual manuals. Many people also call it cryptic, but honestly, I don't think that's quite right. One complaint, for example, that you see often is that you need to burn down bushes or bushes to get to places, but you only need to burn down a single bush to beat the game. All the other ones are actually optional. And yeah, it's just random bushes that look like any other, but the one you need to beat the game, since it's the entrance to a dungeon, it's right in the way and looks extremely out of place, so you would eventually think, something about this bush is quite weird. It's like back in the day in Fortnite, when they introduced the bush to hide it and people use it right out in the open. You should notice there's something wrong with it. Same with some of the bombable walls in the overworld. Some big rocks just look so inviting to try to bomb. But the thing is also, the map that comes with the game shows you big question marks on the map where you can find hidden things. Let's for example take the entrance for level 7. You need to play the flute to drain the lake to reveal it. How were you supposed to know this? Well, the map even shows a big question mark here, and yeah, it doesn't really mention the whistle, but trying is learning after all. It's kinda half cryptic, but you would eventually figure it out. Probably, hopefully. Aside from that, the game also gives you tips instead of the game, like that you should visit the man at the waterfall to upgrade your sword or at the grave too. There's also like 2 mazes in the game that can't really be done without being lucky, where you need to walk into the right direction on the same looking screens. Kinda like the Lost Woods from Ocarina of Time, but without the hints of the music, and in the Lost Woods the rooms also change and don't just look the same mostly. But here these mazes are not cryptic either, since right around them there's NPCs to find that will tell you where to go. So in a way I think many people consider it cryptic because they never look at the manual or into the map, because when you emulate games you don't really have those. So instead of looking for them, people will just give up and think it's the game's fault. It's not the game's fault for getting emulated, so you don't get the real experience of having a map or manual to help you out on your quest. The combat is really simple, just like in most Zelda games, but especially 2D ones. You swing your sword and that's kinda it. To block shots you have to stand still, but without buying the better shield you can only block shots from starting enemies. With the magical shield you can block basically anything except boss attacks, but the likes can eat it, so watch out. The difficulty, to be honest, without wanting to grind 250 rupees to buy the blue wing to take less damage, can be quite tilting the farther you get into the game, especially if you forget to also buy the magical shield like I did for a while. The first 2 dungeons are basically a cakewalk, but then the Dark Nut gets introduced and goddamn do they take a beating while draining your health fast. But once you get used to them and also get your first sword upgrade, even the blue Dark Nuts won't be a problem anymore, till you meet the blue Wiswobs. They tilted me into a different universe in the 6th dungeon, because some rooms had 2 blue Wiswobs teleporting all over the room with some normal Wiswobs, and then also some likes and the fuzzy energy ball enemies you have to avoid so you can still continue to use your sword. because if they hit you, you can't use your sword. And the blue Wisp-Orbs basically wound your health by 3 hits, and it just sucks when they teleport right into you and there's not much you can do except always buying the red potions in this game because it's basically overpowered since it gives you 3 lives. Chugging it gives you a full health again, and then it turns into a blue potion which also restores your full health, so it's a 2-in-1 deal. Neat. You will also need it because some rooms in this game are just brutal, especially later on. It will slap your ass so hard you won't be able to walk for a few days, but I like that, so it's fine for me because I'm a masochist. So if you want to play this game, you have to grind the rupees to get the blue wing, otherwise you will suffer. Puzzles in this game are basically not really existent. At most you have to push a block to open a door, and that's it. And the items you get from dungeons are mostly for combat, except for a few exceptions. The biggest thing that sucks is always respawning with just 3 hearts, but it's kinda bearable since the overworld also has shortcuts so you can get fairly quickly back where you need to go after refreshing your health at the fairy spring. The stuff about no explanations, the game being cryptic, and the difficulty are often the 3 reasons why people drop the game and call it outdated. And it's totally fine to drop a game if you're not having any fun with it and maybe are a bit masochistic. But I think even nowadays it's a fun game to play and experience if you can stay patient. If I can beat this game without a guide, then anyone can. But to be fair, I played through the game as a teenager with a guide here and there and still knew some things from that time when I was replaying it a few days ago to get the footage. But aside from that, I didn't need a guide this time. For people who want to play it, but with lots of quality of life changes, I heard good things about the Redux Hack for it, which adds a map for the overworld, you respawn with more hearts and many more features. So you should at least check that one out if you want to play it but don't want to suffer too much. And with that said, it's the end of the video and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm planning on going through every single Zelda game, so if you enjoyed the video you can like the video and maybe subscribe to see me talk about A Link to the Past next, because I'm gonna skip Zelda 2 because it's the only Zelda game I really don't like. That's the game that was bad back in the day and will stay bad till the end of time. Sorry to say it, but inside of your heart you know it's true. I would legit cry live on stream if I ever have to play it again. See you next time and have a good one. A good night, day, morning, whatever time it is right now for you.